This podcast is so fucking late. I should have put it up during last year, but I didn't because the timeline got screwed up. And now we're working ways through the backlog. This is a podcast about weirdos. Liam Neeson now is kind of racist, but that hadn't happened at the time, so our comments do not reflect that. Enjoy the podcast, everybody. So don't worry too much. Besides, we've got the lowest values of any podcast, lowest production values certainly. Yeah. So we're here in the back. This is the projection room, you tell me?
The projection stock room of the cinema we just were at, Kino
Bermondsey, and we're very privileged to be here. Welcome back to Hurd Ya Saw. I'm joined this week by returning champion Shay.
Hello there. How are you?
You currently have the most appearances, right?
Well,
I think you do.
Yeah.
Apart from me.
I had to get on that Fantastic Beasts just to catch up with EJ. That's how I came in the room for like a minute, just to be.
Just so you could be classed as having been on the cast.
I think me and EJ are drawn, maybe.
All right, fair enough. And I'm joined by newcomer Sam.
Yeah, I have the least appearances.
Why don't by being on this cast, you're now even with like a ton of other people.
And actually, I'm way more than way more people.
Yeah, there's so many people in the world who have not been on this show. This time we have just finished watching Steve McQueen film Widows. We begin, as ever, with a round of one-line hot takes. Sam, as the newcomer, I'll explain. This is your forum to sum up your initial thoughts on the movie in just a single one-line hot take. I'll get Shay to demonstrate. Shay, your one-line hot take, please.
This film is excellent and will need numerous student dissertations to kind of analyze the political stuff that's going on in this film.
See, I can tell that they're trying. That was a very
trying to show you.
That was a really solid
Normally
effort.
I'm like
that works. So one-line hot take. So Sam, your one-line hot take.
This film had made brilliant use of a really kind of stacked ensemble cast.
Boy, how did it?
But maybe not as much use of its sort of narrative potential.
Oh, look at that! Already some dissension showing up. For my,
but I really liked it.
What do you want to bring around? And for my one-line hot take, shit, I haven't thought of mine because I'm too busy looking out for other people. I really liked how
Did you not learn anything from this film? Don't look out for other people.
That's true. You got to look out for yourself. I liked how tall Alison was. She was so tall, and it was used to such great effect. I was just like, dang. It was like awesome.
Well, I sit at the back of the cinema.
So you can
look
search up.
Nice. We will now, as a team, or I don't know, someone can roughly take the lead. I'm gonna lay down one thing because sometimes we don't really give a shit about spoilers on this podcast.
Sure.
But I'm gonna say because of the nature of this kind of it's an intricate thriller. There's quasi mystery angles to it. I think I want to put up a bit of a spoiler barrier. We will discuss full spoilers later on. But for our premise and plotline discussion, outline just to orient people with what the film basically is, let's avoid major plot points. Shay, how would you describe the premise of this film?
After a heist gone wrong, a crew of 4 men die violently, and the widows of those men take up their next heist as a way to pay back the debts that their husbands have left behind.
That's very solid.
Amongst the backdrop of a political campaign of a Chicago-based war.
Indeed. That was really succinct. You're on fire today,
Thank
Shay.
you.
Were you really?
It's because we got guests, and I want to seem dignified.
You want to make a good impression.
Did you just read the back of the leaflet?
Sam, as the newcomer, initial thoughts on this movie. What do you reckon? What did you make of Widows?
Is it still?
You can go. Yeah, without going into spoilers, but you can just talk about stuff you liked, your initial thoughts, whatever. You lead the discussion.
Yeah, no, I really liked it, and I thought tonally it kind of hit every note very well. And I was, for the first hour, I was just kind of I was really, really going with it, and I still will with it towards the end, but we'll discuss that later.
Yeah, we'll get that.
But just before we got to any sort of narrative stuff, it did sort of strike me an hour in. I was like, oh, they don't know what they're doing with heist wise yet. And I was looking at my watch, are they gonna squeeze this all in? And they just about did.
How are they good? They need to know what the plan is.
Yeah, but they were still assembling the team and the crew, and after an hour and a bit.
I really enjoyed the way that there was a segment of the film was literally, we need to figure out what the plans that we have are
yeah.
before we could even act upon them in any reasonable capacity.
Yeah,
Which I was like, oh yeah, they're really like they did a really good job of setting up the sort of you're not from our world.
Sure.
And they sort of reinforced that really beautifully. I think that was really nice. Shane, what do you make of it?
Yeah, I like that too. I like that part of, rather than just you see them casing out a joint and figuring out how we're going to hit this thing. It's like, no, those plans are laid out. It's part of everything that's left behind by the husband. Yeah.
Are you in position to start off the next film?
Yeah.
Shay actually working while podcasting. Truly the
Professional.
controller of both worlds.
I should be working. Yeah, I think on that note, it sort of came out the exact right amount of time after Ocean's 8, because it was like a similar premise.
Absolutely.
In
Ocean's
way.
8, but played a lot
But-
grittier.
Yeah, and just a lot like it didn't. I was watching it while the heist was kind of going down. I was thinking I'm really glad.
This is fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about that.
But really glad that we're watching the heist rather than being told how the heist is.
Here's
gonna
how
play
it's
out
gonna go.
While it's do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because,
The Ocean's 11 has that
Yeah,
thing of
yeah,
sort of like
exactly.
they lay everything out, and then you get to see, oh, things are happening, things go
and
wrong.
That was really cool
oh.
in Ocean's 11.
Yeah.
And then I was refreshed by watching this.
Yeah, this film has... Because a lot of people talk about Ocean's 8 being like, yeah, it's female empowerment, fun, and this is like... Gillian Flynn's a very weird writer, and that she kind of has these female empowerment films that are very nuanced and very odd, like Gone Girl and this.
Oh, she did Gone Girl as
She
well.
wrote Gone Girl,
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So, to think about like Ocean's 8 and then to think about this film, which is also a heist film with a bunch of women that come together and also both have like twists and both are about like these women coming together to like pull off this
Take
heist,
back
like,
what they're owed.
yeah, and this film doesn't treat you like an idiot.
No.
It doesn't, and it's like, oh damn, I don't know if we're gonna get through this. It's not like Ocean's 8 was a bit of a cartoon.
Yeah.
But in that sense, the Ocean's 8 sort of stance of female empowerment is kind of cartoonish, whereas this was it kind of was less straightforward with its they weren't they didn't have any part of the crime world, and they weren't the sort of strong female criminals.
Yeah, they
which
weren't like the
are
best in their field.
Well, they weren't even in the field.
Yeah,
And
exactly,
they were
yeah.
pretty terrible started out, but then they kind of did it anyway because
Yeah.
they had to. They were kind of forced into, and you can look at that as like a lack of agency to some extent. It's they're not really making the decisions. They're making their decisions made for them, even down to the plans. Their plans set out by their husbands. But I don't necessarily think that's a that's a negative.
Yeah, it's not a mark against it.
Ocean's 8 did come across as kind of gimmicky.
But that's part of like the whole thing of like the whole film is everyone's taking what they've got or what they're given,
Yeah.
like what they're given in terms of like their cultural heritage and what they're given in terms of their fathers before them or their mothers before them. Like that's with every character in the film, and that the same with like they're given this kind of heist and they have to figure out what to do with it.
Yeah. And I don't know much. I'm not hugely versed in the Chicago organised crime world, but I'd imagine there are more Brian Tyree Henrys than there are Sandra Bullocks.
Yeah,
in a way.
I think that's very accurate. I was particularly impressed by Daniel Kaluuya, and also the guy who I don't know the actor's name, but I only know him as Alfred from Atlanta.
Brian Tyree Henry.
Yeah, holy crap.
He was great.
Whoa! He's really good at doing like a sort of very soft level of menace when he was holding that dog. And I'm like, oh god, he's going to throw the dog out the window or something. I was just like, Jesus. And Daniel Kaluuya just with like such presence and just a bit weird. It almost felt slightly to me in some respects that he was from a different movie. Like he felt like a Tarantino character who just sort of wandered in.
Well, every time he did something violent, he was also like, I'm gonna learn Spanish, I'm gonna read a book, I'm gonna...
Oh, I loved the funny Spanish bit.
Yeah.
Like, he was always like, I'm just here to, like, improve myself. But he was also doing these horrific action.
Oh, the leg stabbing.
Ooh.
Holy crap. Boy, howdy. So, as an overall thing, just to say, would we, by and large, recommend this film?
Yes, definitely. I think it's going to be one of those films that... It's not my favourite Steve McQueen film, and it's not my favourite film that's come out this year.
Mine is Shame, just for... Shame's so fucking good. Oh my god.
But...
Oh my god.
I think it's going to be a film about people... Like, in 20 years, if we're not all dead, people will definitely...
Serious podcast on the internet, this is...
I think people will definitely look back at Widows and be like, this is definitely a film of its time.
Yes.
Of like...
But in like a good way. I feel like it's capturing the edge of like the kind of cultural changes and revolution that we're seeing more now.
Obviously, it hit a lot of those sort of points, and I felt like my sort of film watching, film viewing experience was marred by having watched the trailer, because it meant that I couldn't tell. So there were certain points when lines sort of came up when I was like, oh, that's that issue.
Right.
But I couldn't tell whether I was like, oh, is that kind of flagging those points, or is that because they put all of those lines in the trailer?
Yeah.
And so, when lines in the trailer just stand out to you.
The one from the trailer that I got was like, no one's going to think that we have the balls to pull this off.
And
which is obviously a trailer-bait line.
Yeah.
Like, that's a good line
and
for
also,
a trailer.
I get what they made, but at the same time, the first people you would look at is the people who is the wives of those organised criminals. So, they weren't as what's the word?
Sympathetic?
No. I mean, they don't just blend into the background as just like, oh, just another woman who's not the first person you look at for a crime. They are the wives of, they are the widows of.
But then it's a completely, because of what the crime. Can we go into spoilers?
Well, yeah, I was going to say, the reason why I asked whether we generally recommend this film. So if you are interested in seeing this film, we say you should see it, and now stop listening, go watch it, and now come back, because now the spoiler alarm. We're now going to talk about spoilers for the actual film. So stop listening if you want to go watch it clean. So go do that. It's good.
Yes,
Promise.
watch it.
Continue, Shay.
Because I guess the initial heist that the husbands do and kind of quote unquote fail at.
Can I just interject really quickly? Bomb ass opening sequence.
Yeah.
Holy fucking
how it-
shit.
So good. I'm so glad I didn't watch the first 5 minutes here.
How it intercut with like the heist and then the family lives and how like the sound like blended seamlessly and
But just
like
that first one when Liam Neeson
not just
Goes in for the
one,
kiss and then
and
glass
and-
breaking.
not just that one, but then also like the kids in Michelle Rodriguez's store like are quite loud with and then all that stuff was like, oh, this is great editing of just like
absolutely fantastic.
I mean, there was a lot of that because cutting interspersing between the flashbacks with Liam Neeson and Viola Davis, and then you weren't meant to initially know what was today and what was
it was like atemporal kind of storytelling,
and the sound design really lent to that because they had bits when the sound was playing from as she was lying in bed with him and then the phone started ringing and then it wasn't just like a pre-lap of the phone ringing. The phone was ringing throughout the whole. It was like 10 seconds of that scene and then went to the other scene. It was kind of disorienting.
I think it really speaks to like the kind of way that. Because I think what's interesting about these characters is that whatever else that they're fighting against, for example, like, patriarchy, racist, systems that are keeping them down, the fact that they're being chased by, the mob and all that, one of the things that they all have in common is they all are, in their own different ways, with the exception of Val, dealing with recent grief. And I think what the film does really, really well is that there's this kind of unearthly feel to the stages immediately after, like that kind of loss, where you sort of don't really know what to do with yourself, and then you end up finding projects or purposes, which in this case
and
was...
that's a lot of that's constantly like done with mirrors, like to signal with the motif of mirrors. Like as soon as you see Viola Davis's character, like see her lose Liam Neeson, like the shot is in the mirror, but it's not like it's just all mirror, so she's got a slight little odd outline, and then like when she remembers Liam Neeson there, it's like in the reflection of the window, and then the last shot of post heist, you see them kind of in the mirrors, and this is good good filmmaking.
What did you think
Hey,
of
Steve
the-
surprising. Surprising.
Yeah.
You're a good filmmaker.
What
Well
do you think
done.
of the last shot? Like after that,
Oh.
when she goes outside and she's like, "Hey, Alice."
I
was really confused, bro.
I was like, I was close to tears because at the beginning she's smiling, and then she never smiles again for the entire movie until the end.
Yeah.
And that felt like such a big sense of relief in what she does with the money, and like, oh my god, that's.
Well, I think it's interesting because her character, Viola Davis's character, spends the vast majority of the film being, I am like the Idris Elba in Pacific Rim. I need to be a fixed point to get everyone through this. And like she does that kind of like really stern, badass thing. And she has to do, in many ways, a lot of the most difficult stuff. She has to fucking kill Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
You know, which is a really huge and traumatic thing for her to do.
So yeah, twist.
Yeah.
The twist is a kind of good.
We're past the
twist.
spoiler thing, but yeah, Liam Neeson's not really dead. Oh hey, but anyway, the thing is that moment, like you say, it's the first moment she smiles, and it's her actually being able to sort of unclench the tension that she's been holding.
And also, go against so earlier on when she said, you know, this is just a job. Well, in fact, she says twice. She says, "We're not friends.
Yeah.
We're just, you know." And
After
then
this, we're
after
done.
That, she says that was in her apartment, in Elizabeth Becker's apartment, and then later says, you know, that we're not friends. After there's no big reunion thing.
Yeah, there's no Ocean's 11 moment in front of the fucking fountain.
Exactly. So I was a bit jarred by that last bit, but am I right in thinking that that's her? That's the the ending of her character arc, is her going against her cold nature and
I think
because she's lonely.
Well, I think it's not that she was necessarily a cold. I think, because from the moment that she gave, well, arguably you could say from the moment her son was killed to the moment after the heist, she's been carrying this tension and uncomfortableness. You could argue that maybe it was from when she gave Liam Neeson, well, when she had the drink from the Liam Neeson flask before he went on the job, which was the last time she was allowed to be, not tense. Because she goes from, my husband's on a job, I'm tense whether he's going to come back alive. My husband's dead, I'm fucking depressed from grief. I'm now being threatened by the mob. I'm now running a heist. I now have to kill my husband who was secretly not dead the whole time. I'm now going to rebuild a fucking school. And breathe. And
she also goes from being very isolationist to then
reaching out.
But also, shooting her husband. She already lost her son. She loses her driver, security guard, friend guy.
Yeah, poor Bash.
Great name.
Yeah.
In the Hurd Ya Saw memoriam, Bash.
Bash, friend of the show.
Ironic.
Oh dear. Can I say I fucking loved Val as a character.
Was that Cynthia Erivo?
I'm bad with actresses' names. She was the hairdresser, blonde lady. Yeah. Like, I thought she was fantastic for several reasons. One, like, I liked her when she was introduced to the thing, that I had shades of like, oh, she's like the fourth Ghostbuster, where like, he just sort of rocks up halfway through the film. And they're like, oh, he's just here.
She's the guy from Ocean's 11 that's in Ocean's 8.
Didn't they?
That's what ruined that film,
that guy.
Ocean's 8, because in Ocean's 8 they get the acrobat for. Sandra Bullock's like, oh, by the way, we earned more money because I also got the acrobat from Ocean's 11 to do the guy to get more money.
The little Chinese
to
acrobat
actually
dude.
get
Oh.
And it's like, oh,
What?
So this whole film about females, and like, oh, you didn't trust them either to tell them that, and wait, you just ruined the entire film.
This
with
one
your-
other guy.
By the way, this one other guy just made us way more money than you guys did.
But I liked
made
it.
more money.
I loved in that sequence when
Yeah,
When Michelle
only
Rodriguez-
70p.
when Michelle Rodriguez introduces her, it's like she's gonna be the driver. Viola Davis is just like talking across Val and not engaging her, and Val's like, "Fucking talk to me, I'm right here," and she like fights her corner, and I was like, "Yes, yes." And I will say that bit when she was punching the punch bag, I was like, "Oh,
She's English.
she's so strong and awesome." I hope she's okay. Man,
She's English.
really?
Yeah, Cynthia Erivo.
Oh man,
Nice.
a lot of it. What do we make of?
Someone called up the other day asking for tickets because they said they were in the same class at the second.
Really? Oh man.
She was in well, we just had it. What was it called?
That film.
Bad Times at the Royale.
Oh, was she?
Yeah, yeah,
cool.
she was
I, we
cool.
need to watch, I need to watch that.
Oh,
All right. Well, I'd
really
happily
good
watch her in
at
more
that.
things. She seems like a very good performer.
To say, I wanted to say back to what you were saying earlier. So the original heist is against, not Manning.
No, it is the
Well,
Mannings.
No.
They
The
steal
original heist is against Brian Tyree Henry's character.
Mannix.
Oh, right.
Yeah, the
And
Mannings were
the
the-
Mannings and the Mulligans.
Yeah.
And then the other heist
Is against the Mulligans.
So
Yeah.
they wouldn't suspect because it's two opposite kind of sides, I think. Like, it wouldn't make sense as
Okay.
a heist against... There'd be no
Sure,
connection to each heist, do you know what I mean?
Because when I saw it in the trailer, sorry to bring up Ocean's 8 again. When I saw it in the trailer,
I think it's a good
instantly just thought,
comparative film.
Because the whole thing with Ocean's 8 is like, oh, they won't be looking for us because we're women.
Yeah.
And so I thought that's what that line was getting at when I saw it in the trailer. Which is, again, if I hadn't watched the trailer, I wouldn't have had that thought in my
To be
mind.
honest,
when I watched it.
it's a good
But I
marketing
was
device
thinking,
for it. Yeah.
But when they said that, I was thinking, yeah, but they would be looking for you because
You're all the wives. Yeah.
He's organised crime. Buzz.
Arguably, but then again, like they made much of being like most of them didn't really know what the fuck was going on.
Sure.
And it's like weren't
They're
involved
still
in
not as
the world.
But then, like,
yeah,
conspicuous as like a man who's got nothing to do.
that's fair.
Well, I guess Viola Davis figures out that her husband is actually alive, like
Sure.
halfway through the film before they confront each other.
Yeah.
So
Can
she
we talk
kind of
about that also?
Yeah, go for it.
twist,
Yeah.
'cause,
Yeah.
well, I just want to get your opinions on it because I wasn't let down by the twist. I
Yeah.
thought, oh, that's an interesting twist, and then it was just not. It didn't have any impact on the storyline. You know what I mean?
I think
They kind of addressed it for about 5 minutes, and then was never addressed again until when he goes. So it didn't impact her plans in any way. She didn't. And when I thought that it was gonna go to something like she was gonna then undercut him. So, but also that what was it called Harry.
Yeah.
Yeah, Harry.
Harry Rawlings.
That it would come about that Harry was then fucking over Jack Mulligan. Is that his name?
Yeah,
Colin Farrell.
Jack. Jack
because
Mulligan.
he had given Bash the instructions to give it to Val when she died. If he
In
died,
Veronica,
sorry.
yeah,
If it- yeah. Val, for fuck's sake. Yeah, Veronica.
Yeah.
If so,
No, but here's
There's a lot of
Harry,
characters and a
Harry
lot of
gave
plot.
Bash the instructions to give that
Yeah.
key and the thing to Veronica if anything happened to her.
Yeah. His original plan was that he gave her on the notebook on the view that she would sell it to the Mannings.
Yeah,
that would
yeah,
get
yeah.
her clear. He'd still be classed as dead. He could go off with his secret family and his secret kid. Whereas he was just going to disappear. However, Mulligan, Colin Farrell, was all like, "No, like you need to like fucking what was his reason for it? That conversation they had on the boat?" And he's all like, "You need to like get me more money." To make sure I win this election to fuck over Manning even harder, or I'm going to tell everyone that you're not dead.
Yeah.
So then...
So he needed money to...
Yeah, so at which point, presumably he would have gone and he would have probably found out that Bash was dead, and then he'd have been like, oh shit, maybe Veronica's running my fucking plan, in which case he knows the plan, because he made it, so he's like, I'll just turn up, she'll have got the money, I'll take the money,
But
if she hasn't, I can fucking run for it.
But there was no consequence of her finding out that he was alive.
Well, emotional
Because-
trauma
Where
is a consequence.
Sure, but then that wasn't addressed. She just carried on as she had been.
Well, that comes back to that tension, though,
only
that she
thing-
can't let herself feel.
Yeah.
Even though she knows that he's not dead, she's like, that's not my problem
But-
right now. I need to...
But it should have been her problem, because surely if she knows that he's not dead, then there's a risk of what happened at the end happening.
True.
Or like some kind of muddling. You think that she was so impacted by the whole thing that if she then it would. I just didn't feel like anything changed after she found out. Apart from that, it made me think that Harry was gonna had a plan all along to undercut Jack Mulligan, because he had given Bash the instructions to give it to Veronica after he dies, and then we obviously find out that he didn't actually die.
Bash did say, though, when he handed over the note with the envelope with the key in it in the first place, he was like, he gave this to me years ago.
Could have been the wrong plan.
Yeah.
Also,
Well, maybe.
Bash could have been in on it. It was a very.
See, now it so feels like, if I may, it kind of feels like you're trying to look for reasons for Liam Neeson to be more competent, perhaps, than he was.
No, I just mean
'Cause
that
he
it was
seemed to be
but
winging
but
it.
it seemed like a shady response of like, oh, I don't remember when he gave it to me, ma'am. My memory's not so good.
Well, he'd have brain damage from being in the NFL.
He wasn't.
He wasn't in the NFL.
I thought the whole reason that's why he took because they referenced him having the
No,
Super
that was
Bowl
a
ring.
birthday.
Yeah,
No, but he was in the Bears.
No,
Like he said,
No,
he was.
No, he wasn't in the Bears, because then Daniel Kaluuya said, was Bash still in the Bears, and the other guy, nope. And
No, he said, was he in the Bears when they won the Super Bowl? And the reason, I felt like that was a commentary, like a very sidebar commentary on the way that the NFL fucks people up. Because if you train big men to run into each other repeatedly, they get brain damage, which is why Bash was a bit screwy and why he had to take a shitload of pills. And then he was like, I was in the Bears, because he said...
I mean, he was in security, you might get fucked up a lot.
Yeah, well, maybe, but like they did say, he's like, oh, a Super Bowl ring? He's like, yeah, I was in the Bears from this period. And Daniel Kaluuya's like, oh, was he in the Bears when they won the Super Bowl? The other one's like, nope. And he's like, oh, this was a gift from that. Because that kind of like, that was...
That makes sense. And
yeah.
That adds more political commentary about America.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I'm always into that.
How are we doing for time? Just because I'm aware both of you are strictly speaking on the clock.
Well, I'm only on the clock for 7 more minutes.
The only thing I would really like to say is... Well, there's loads of things I'd love to say. But I just want to point out how great the shot was, where Colin Farrell is speaking at MWOW, which is like, it's a minority women owning work or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's about an initiative.
Small business owners who are minority women.
And it's in a kind of low economic area of the ward. And he gets in a car after a difficult question.
Oh, that fucking
and then-
shot!
and
Oh
then
my god!
It just follows the car as it drives to his beautiful house in this long conversation that's filled with so many racial implications, and it's like, holy.
And this driver was
God
black
damn.
as well.
It was
lovely reveal.
Yeah, you're just
And
like,
that
oh
was
my
like-
god.
And it also reveals that they're a couple.
Yeah, or like he's at least fucking his secretary.
Yeah. Well, no, she's saying it's our future. It's our,
Yeah.
So I think they were in it for the long run. But yeah, great.
But
really great.
there's lots going on in this film.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Steve McQueen knows how to make it. Before we get to final thoughts, I'm just going to say one other thing that I really appreciate about Steve McQueen's filmmaking is that a thing that he's pretty much famous for is he really knows how to let a moment breathe properly. Like, and there were, like, obviously the sequence in Shame where Michael Fassbender goes jogging, sequence in 12 Years a Slave when he's been hung and he just hangs on the tree for what seems like an eternity. There were lots of great moments where you had characters having these moments, like the bit when Daniel Kaluuya gets the two rapper, like the beatboxer and the rapper, and it's just like, oh god, you're just ratcheting up the tension here.
Yeah.
Oh shit, and it's allowed to breathe, and then suddenly abrupt bang gives you release from it. And I really, really liked how Allison...
See, I know that sequence was all one shot, but that whole entire scene, was that all one shot, or do you think it started with the rapping and then when the camera's circling around up until the end was?
I think it was a one. It looked like
do you
a
think
one.
the whole, well, that bit was, but I don't know if the whole scene was.
I think that's very cool because it was like the camera came in with them, and then it kept following around the guys in the room. I think it was,
As soon as they get into the court. I think
Yeah,
it's
because the
one
guy got them out of the bin,
Yeah.
and then took them in to the room.
Daniel Kaluuya puts a bookmark in his book. And
Puts it down because he's trying to become educated. Possibly some kind of symbol about the way that you have young disadvantaged men trying to make their way up into higher society by learning.
What Brian Tyree Henry says, where he's like, oh, we've been part of like a criminal enterprise, but I want what the Mulligans have, and like I'm 38, I don't want to be chased by guns, I want to be chased by cameras and stuff.
Yeah,
And
by fucking lawyers and shit.
They've got this power, like we need to get into this area. Like it's all about just business, and like the whole film is filled with how business interacts with politics.
Yeah.
And, like,
How
and all
capitalism
the
doesn't
individuals within the system of this thing,
care.
and how they are going to look out for themselves and look out for their surroundings and others.
Yeah. Yep.
Go
Go.
Daniel Kaluuya's character, though, I thought he was great. Like, one of my favourites in the whole thing. But the way he died, I was slightly confused what the point of sort of him holding up the truck, only for them to just catch up and... Like, I can see the point of him holding up the truck, but like from a narrative point of view, it was like, oh no, they've been caught. Oh, that's fine.
I kind of liked that because it was sort of like it was a slight fake out, and you have the sort of thing that like for a moment you're like, oh man, is the message of this film you're always going to get fucked over by someone, and then it's like, no, the message is you fucking chase them down and you take what's yours if you want to survive in this kind of like extreme environment.
Where did they get that car from? Who?
That was
it?
I think that was Michelle Rodriguez. No, Val's car, right? Because she drove. I think that was her car. But yeah, one thing I wanted to say about Allison as a character I really liked how she had so many different accents depending on who she was talking to.
Yeah.
I thought that was really, really interesting. Of something that, like, is a thing I know that like for people who are living in a country where they're not speaking their native language have, where their accent will come and go, shifting on depending on who they talk to. Because her accent when she was talking to her mother versus her accent when she was like trying to buy the gun, when she's all like, "I am Polish, please help." Her accent when she was talking to the guy at the at the junkyard auction, stuff like that. Just like this character was constantly being chameleonic and
That's
like.
what I mean. What I was talking about earlier about, in her case, particularly about people using their heritage in different ways of like getting different things.
Yeah.
It might just be because she's Australian.
Oh, is she Australian,
Yeah,
really?
So is Jackie Weaver, her mum. So that would have
Oh.
been fun in between.
Interesting. So, we will now turn to final thoughts. This is the mirror of one-line hot takes at the beginning, where it's just your one line to sum up what you thought of the film, especially after all the processing discussion that we've done. Your final thought, Bob? What you got? I can go to Shay if you're not ready. If you need some cooking time. Shay,
No.
as the professional in the room.
I was trying to think of a pun to end on, but I won't get there. Sorry, Morton. Yeah, like I said, it's fantastic. It's got a lot to say. And fuck Fox for pushing Bohemian Rhapsody more instead of Widows and kind of letting this Widows get sidelined against Bohemian Rhapsody made by paedophile. What
Nice.
Widows is, which I don't know. I think that sums up some of the themes of the film too.
Very good. Nice non-incendiary final thought there from Shay. Thank you.
Yeah, a beautifully shot, very dense film that I'm gonna have to take a while to unpack. And I really enjoyed.
Much
And
to think.
also, I spent a lot of time wondering if Colin Farrell's character was originally meant to be played by Michael Fassbender, but then deciding that it didn't matter because Colin Farrell was really good.
Colin
Although
Farrell
his
was
accent was a
good.
bit
He was,
Irish at times.
well, he's Irish American, so
Yeah.
I was kind of like, hey.
His character was so interesting.
Robert Duvall was really great as well.
Everyone's
I thought he
really
was
good in
really,
this.
really good.
Yeah, there wasn't a weak link in this cast, really.
No.
Like, I think my final thought then I'd say, like, a really super good ensemble piece. Go see it. Steve McQueen is great, and Viola Davis will murder you if she has to. Bye.
Well, she is great at that. Like, the one good thing from Suicide
Squad is her as Amanda
Viola Davis
Waller?
being like, yeah, I would have Viola Davis straight up murder me anytime. I would come murder me, Viola. I consent to it. Just you.
Amazing. Thank you.